Here is my 1969 Volkswagen Squareback project. And there's a door, and there's some of the other body parts. This car is a little bit interesting. I bought it with the tube frame, which was not finished, was not fully welded, it was only tacked together. It had no floors, had no engine, had no suspension, no brakes. And now there's no back on it. Currently, I have swapped in the ultimate engine, the start every time, no matter what, Honda D16 from an EK hatch. Base model engine with no VTEC, very simple, very straightforward, and over twice the horsepower of the original engine. So in stock form, it should still be pretty quick. I handmade, all on my own, these headers going into a 4-in-1 collector, into a V-banded exhaust, which will route down and loop around back straight under the car, just to have room for a cat and resonator and muffler. Now the back of the car is missing because making the entire engine wiring harness was quite difficult through the tiny windows, being that this thing was chopped before I got it. So I figured the best way to reach in there and see everything I was doing was if the body wasn't on there. But I had already welded it to the frame, so the simplest solution was to cut it off straight on the back and come up with a system which isn't fully completed yet, where it slips on. I have these locating hooks here. I can set up, grab onto the backside, and click it down in place and they lock in. It's got a receiving end here with the hook on the back, and the tube slides into the center so it's all lined up. Back's a nice place. I won't be able to put anything in the back though. It's not the family wagon it once was. In fact, there are only 2 seats because of this scaffolding coming down and tapering to the center. And like I said, it wasn't complete. It ended right above where the axles are, or where they are now, because there weren't any before. So I built all of this rear end, reused some here, and created engine mounts to mount the Honda longitudinally, which it hadn't been before. It was a transverse layout only engine. I have an adapter plate from Kennedy Engineering, bringing it up to the Volkswagen transaxle, which I figured would fit up fine. I could use stock axles off the shelf whenever these ones need to be replaced, because I still have a stock torsion housing. So it's a torsion beam suspension going across the front into the end here. That's where the original springs are. So these coil springs are just holding the extra weight of this whole engine setup that I have. I've also converted the rears to disc brakes instead of the original drums, which the fronts on this model were disc brakes as well, but I'm going to convert these, which I don't have them yet, they're in the mail, some Willwood 2-pot calipers up in the front. Like I said, those aren't finished yet. Inside here, I have the seats. Only one of them is in the car at the moment, so I can have space to build my electrical harness. But this seat is out of a first-gen Dodge Cummins, because they're really, really comfortable and they have some good bolsters, and they were available. I also have part of the original tunnel so that the shifter will line up straight and work, which I've had to build to and put into the car with these plates on the bottom and all of these different bolts going through it to secure it in place. Down here we've got the electrical harness so far, which is only controlling the engine, ECU, and powering different items like the pumps, which I'll show you in a second. Over here again, I have a standalone ECU. This one is the ECU Master EMU Classic. I figured their entry model was plenty to power a car that's 20 years old and doesn't have anything crazy going on. Well, I say that. The engine doesn't. The car does. It's got problems. Serious, deep psychological problems. The pedals, as there were no more original floors or front firewalls to put them into, I have a mount up here where they connect, go up through the firewall to the brake master. The clutch is cable operated, which is nice, and I'll still have to get the gas pedal sorted out to try to get the cable to go all the way to the back and attach to the Honda throttle body. Steering is stock. I'll need a new steering wheel. It's way too big to fit in this car, which I'm 6 feet tall and my head almost touches the ceiling. So my knees do not fit under that wheel. I guess I'll show you the cooling system under the hood here, which is currently taped shut until I get a hood latch. But I do have some hydraulic risers and a 17-gallon rectangle gas tank, just so I can get several hundred extra miles of range out of it. But down here, I've got my aluminum double core radiator, which is an upgraded standard part for some, well, not standard from the factory, but an upgraded part for regular Civics, so I figure it's up to the task. I don't figure the front engine water pump on the engine was enough to complete the task, so I have this is a actual Volkswagen part off of modern Passats, Golfs, and whatnot for the water to air intercoolers, just to help take some of the head off the pump in the engine, let it last a little bit longer and get some better flow out of it. So I have a electric pump helping that out and getting everything to the back, just to keep everything cool and nice. And that's what's under the hood here. Other than down below with the brake master fitting, less than 1 millimeter of clearance from the pitman arm. But it fits, so I'll call it good. And the last member of the cooling system, because that radiator is so low, I wouldn't be able to fill the whole engine with coolant. So I thought about it and said, well, an easy way to make this angle work out of the engine here and back down under the car through the tunnel to the front was a swirl pot. The welds on here are ugly because I didn't like the way they looked, so I just fucking went for it and sent it and just made them all smooth and nasty. Up on the top, they're decent though, but that's what my 40-year-old fucking AC welder at work can do, so that's what it can do. So we have a swirl pot in there, which is usually a motorsport thing, but I don't think this will make the necessary power to justify having a swirl pot, other than the convenience of mounting up the hoses and having a very high fill point for the cooling system. I'll just end this with a shot of the headers because, you know, I like the way these look. I only had a number 6 cup when I welded the runners, so that's why they're all grayed out. But, oh man, look at those beauties up there. Look at that gold and blue and purple. Nice and pretty. Flat sanded, of course. Oh, beautiful. Down here, V-band. It's looking good too. Very nice. We like it. That's what we love. And really, its only functional purpose is a storage shelf for all of my tools.